Last year when the CBAC agreement changed the rules for the small pharmacies, myself and Senator McKinney actually wrote a letter to Senator Blumenthal and asked about the status of the Federal Trade Commission's investigation into Caremark and possible unfair trade practices. That was actually a little over a year ago, and we still haven't received a letter back from the senator in response to our letter. But my question would be that this changes the reimbursement, but does it change the dispensing fee through you, Madam Speaker?
Representative Peter Terziak.
My interpretation of what's going on is that they have not filed, well, first of all, they haven't filed any amendments.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As was mentioned in earlier comments with the minority leader, no, this will not change the reimbursement rate. This also, by the way, only does not involve the state employees' pharmacy use. Through you, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Representative Kupchick.
Just to clarify, through you, Madam Speaker, it doesn't change the reimbursement, but does it change the dispensing fee? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Terziak.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. I should have said it does not change the dispensing fee, which will remain at $2. The total reimbursement will be increasing as we move from having what the present average wholesale price minus 16 or 17% to average wholesale price minus only 14%, an increase of a couple percent more for our private pharmacies. For our little pharmacies, the independent pharmacies, 5 or fewer in a chain in the state. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Kupchick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And just a follow-up question, would this also change the fact if you are using a maintenance drug, whereas I recently, I use a small pharmacy in my town, I'm like the 5th generation of my family have been going to this small pharmacy, Loop's Drug Store, and I was just actually told by my pharmacist this past week that I use some eye drops that are considered a maintenance drug, and that he couldn't fill my prescription because I use the state insurance. I was really quite disappointed about it. But at any rate, I'm asking through you, Madam Speaker, is this, will that change? Will our small mom and pops be able to fill our maintenance drugs? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Terziak.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. This bill makes no changes at all to our present CBAC agreement, including what is and isn't covered by local pharmacies versus what is or isn't covered by mail order. Thank you.
Representative Kupchick.
Thank you for the answer. Just on that one point, I want to say I'm still extremely disappointed that we haven't done something that's fair to these businesses, and it also is taking away choice for the consumer. I am a consumer, and I want to choose where I have my prescriptions filled. And I think it is still unfair that I do not have that choice. I have another question on the SB1, on the jobs bill. I'm not sure who would answer that.
Representative Walker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I stand ready to answer the Commerce Bill's questions as best I can. Thank you, Madam.
Representative Kupchick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Earlier it was, I know other people have asked this question, but talking about expanding the program to companies of 100 or 100 up to 100, but I'm confused because when we passed the bill in October of 2011, the jobs bill, it was for companies up to 50, and it was my understanding that all the funding that we put in place for that, for those programs for companies up to 50 has been expended. So through you, Madam Speaker, do we have any funding left over to accommodate this change in the bill? And if we do, where is that money coming from? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Walker.
I thank the gentlelady for her question. And at this point, I am going to redirect the question to the House Chair of the Commerce Committee.
Representative Berger wasn't in the chamber to hear the question, so Representative Kupchick, would you mind repeating the question, and we'll ask Representative Berger.
Yes, through you, Mr. Speaker, I believe I understood the good representative's question. I heard it. And through you, if I could respond.
She needs to redirect her question to you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question through you, Madam Speaker, was when we passed the bill in October 2011, the funding for companies up to 50, it was my understanding that funding has already been expended, but now this part of the bill is saying that we will be expanding it to companies up to 100 employees. So my question is, if we haven't expended the funds that we had put in place in October 2011 for the jobs bill, what funding are we using to implement the programs that are outlined in this new bill? Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Berger.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker, to the good representative. And before I had clarified that question with another representative that asked the question, but as of approximately April 24th of this year, we have expended or encumbered roughly $32 million. The legislature allowed for, in the October special session, a bonding authorization of GEO bonds for $50 million, which was in turn passed through the Bonding Commission. Again, part of some of that $50 million has been either given out or encumbered, roughly to $32 million. So leaving roughly $28 million or so left in 2011. The issue then becomes there are hundreds of applications that may or may not result in a qualification for a Business Express loan. We have authorized just $50 million in 2011 and $50 million in the last year of the biennium. When we do pass this bill through you, Madam Speaker, there is, however, a provision that will allow DECD to reach into Manufacturers Assistance Act funding, bond funding. Within that bond funding pool are a total of approximately $340 million. That, on the passage of the bill, would allow DECD to access funds through MMA. Through you, Madam Speaker.
Representative Kupchick.
Wow. Oh, no. I think that would be hard for me to explain to my constituents. But I will give it a try. Thank you for the answer, Representative Berger. I just wanted to make a few comments, if I may, Madam Speaker. I wanted to comment that I am against the part of this bill that asks us to remove the minimum staffing for state troopers. I think public safety trumps everything else, and I think we always need to make sure that we have the right law enforcement in place to protect the citizens of Connecticut. So I am against this piece, strongly against it. There are some parts of the bill that I like. You know, I like that there are some tax exemptions for veterans. I like the conveyance. I like the revaluation phase-in. But again, just evidenced by speaking and asking 3 separate people questions about one bill, I think should show us. I mean, we're all legislators, we're all representatives here, representing people who really count on us to do a good job for them. And I have to tell you, I'm really disappointed that at noon yesterday I received hundreds of pages of information about a special session. And I just feel like that is just inappropriate. We're passing legislation, in some cases, legislation that never went through a process, that the public never had a chance to weigh in on. Again, we are representatives. We represent the public, whether we like some of these bills or not. Some of them have never been transparently looked at the committee level. And like Representative Cafaro said earlier, okay, well, then each of these bills should have been presented on their own. On their own. There are bills in here that I want to vote on for my constituents. But then I would be voting on legislation that my constituents would be disgusted by. So what do I do? What do any of us do? So what do I say to my people that I represent? I'm sorry I couldn't vote for this pharmacy bill that I really care about because, oh, by the way, this other thing is just completely outrageous. This isn't how I think government should work. I came up here because I want us to have a more representative government. And I'm just feeling I'm feeling actually bad for the people I represent because they want better. They want better from their legislature. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to vote against this legislation, even though there's parts of it that I really like. And I just hope that we don't do this anymore, that we don't put out legislation that's all lumped together and representatives can't make the choices they think are right for their constituents. Thank you, Madam Speaker.